Hi, this is Howie from Prime Your Pump, entertaining and actionable self-improvement. And this week's video is about how to give a memorable tribute speech. By that I mean a roast or a retirement speech or something of the like. And there are two types of tribute speeches. One is the factual type of speech where you list out all of the person's accomplishments and achievements and awards, and it's true and generally kind of boring. All right. And then there's the fictional tribute speech, which is more like a roast. Its purpose is to be entertaining and memorable. And in this video today, we're going to focus on the second type of speech. We're going to focus on the fictitious speech. So remember, the purpose of the fictitious speech, it's important, is to be entertaining and to be memorable. So let me give you an example of a fictitious speech. I had a colleague who retired. I'll call him Bill, just to pick a random name. And I had known him for 30 years. And this was a speech given to everybody in his department and anybody else who wanted to attend. So there were about 40 people there. They all knew me and I knew all of them, all right? And they had just finished two factual speeches. And I thought that it was time to have something entertaining and memorable. So this is the speech that I gave. And I'm going to give it to you like I gave it to them. Hi, my name's Howie Gitlow, and I'm here to tell a story about Bill. And you know, every coin has two sides, a heads and a tails. And you've just heard all of the head stories about Bill. Now I want to tell you the tail story about Bill. About 30 years ago, my wife and I were driving up US 1, and our car broke down about 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. And everything was closed except the gas station, and the guy in the gas station said it was going to take about 2 hours to fix the car. So we looked around, and there was a strip mall with everything closed except for a bar that featured mud wrestling. And you have to understand that in Florida in the 80s, mud wrestling with female mud wrestlers was a really, really big, hot, thing to do. So, I'm with my wife, so nobody can call me a perv. And so I go in, and, it's very, very crowded, and there's a big wrestling ring filled with mud, and two very attractive women, wearing bikinis, and they're looking for somebody to come in and wrestle with them. Well, Bill is about 6'7", so the women, all right, are always looking for a big guy, so his head is sticking up above everybody else, and they scream out, "How about you, honey?" And he goes, "No, no, 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 no." So all of a sudden, my wife, who knows him, unknowns to him, starts screaming out, "Bill, Bill, Bill, Bill," and then everybody in the place is screaming, "Bill, Bill, Bill." It's like 100 people are screaming Bill. So he figures, what the hell, I guess. He gets down to his tighty-whities, and he walks into the ring, and when he walks in, he slips and he falls on top of one of the female wrestlers and accidentally pins her. All right, well, that certainly wasn't acceptable. That's not supposed to happen. So then they had, a rematch, and of course, one of them won, and he was covered in mud. And but when he fell on her, the interesting thing was accidentally he knocked off the top of her bikini, which was strictly verboten. So he was pretty much kicked out of the place. And then they were looking for somebody else. So my wife all of a sudden goes, "How about him?" And then she starts going, "Howie, Howie, Howie." And everybody in the place is screaming, "Howie, Howie, Howie." So I strip down to my black tighty-whities, and I go into the ring. I proceed to get, pinned immediately, with like within 30 seconds. And I'm walking out, and I'm actually walking out about 4 feet behind Bill. That's how fast my defeat was. And when we get outside, all right, we realize that we're both, he realizes that we're there, and we look at each other and we just say to each other, this will never be spoken of again. And my friends, that's the tail side of the story I have to tell you about Bill, okay? And the interesting thing about the story was Bill didn't even remember whether it was true or not. The fact that it was slightly based on truth. Our car did break down, and we did go into a bar, but everything else was fiction. And it was certainly memorable, and it was certainly entertaining. And people came up to me afterwards and said, did that really happen? And I said, no, it was a complete fiction. But still, to this day, people still think it really actually happened. And if you want to use a fictitious speech and, like use it or lose it or make it actionable, there's a few rules you have to remember. The first rule is to make sure that the recipient of your speech has a good sense of humor. And the second thing is to know your audience. You don't want to offend them, you just want to give them a good time. So you have to be careful. And you have to be creative, and you have to make up a story that's believable, but yet just outrageous enough, okay, to titillate the audience. You have to deliver the story with a complete straight face, and you have to include someone in the audience who is known to be someone of great decorum and never lies, etc. And that, of course, was my wife. Okay, I pulled her into it, all right? And if Shelley is involved in it, if Shelley said it's true, well, it must be true. And when to use it, it's simple. Whenever you're going to give a tribute speech from now on. And what do you think? Well, if you have any ideas about great tribute speeches, we'd love to hear about it. Please send it to us. So until next week, remember to please read and share our blog posts and to subscribe to our weekly blog newsletter. And until next time, remember, prime your pump.